The only rule is don't shame the kids. So how important is it to actually see your teen or child in your mind? It's a great question. It's very important that you connect in a visual way at the beginning and then again at the end if you're trying to read it back. Are you talking about like writing a correction and then reading it back to your child?
Yeah.
Okay. So because you're reading it, you're not always going to maintain a strong visual connection to that teen or that child. But you must form it and begin it with that. And then you will naturally reconnect with that image at the end.
Okay.
But don't feel like you have to always have this like intense maintaining a visual contact thing, because that's kind of hard to do when you're reading to yourself.
Cool. Okay. That could take some work then. Just because when it comes to like the actual act of visualizing stuff, like I don't mean visualizing stuff, just visualizing like imagery.
Yeah.
Is something that's incredibly hard.
Okay. So what you can
yeah, go on.
No, I believe you. And trust me, I run into this sometimes. It happens. And so basically, like, you may have already heard me talk about, or someone else talk about, getting a picture of your child, you as a child and you as a teen. And I put mine on the wall. It's somewhere over there. It's like over there behind that thing. I have a picture of me as a teenager and me as a child. And so I look at them every day, and it's somewhere that I walk by every day. It's outside the master bedroom door.
Okay.
And so I see them all the time. And that is helpful. The other thing is you can draw pictures of them, which I know sounds like, but I'm not going to be able to draw exactly what they look like. But you can draw a picture of your child, and then that'll usually start to kick up imagery of you as an actual child.
Okay.
Same thing with the teen. But don't sweat it too hard. The main thing is that you're connecting and that you can see them, you know, and like see their little face. That's one of the main things. If the clothes get fuzzy or different things, that's okay. But you need to be able to see them, at least initially, and then at the end. What would you do if your teen or child doesn't want to talk? Do you just wait and come back another time, or would you sit and chat with them? So it depends on kind of what you're doing. So basically meaning like what you're attempting to do with that teen or child. So like, if they don't show up, that's its own cluster of stuff, like where you can't see them at all, or they don't show up. If they don't want to engage, then you reflect back what's occurring in the moment to the teen or the child. It seems like you don't really want to talk. Do you? So you would still ask a question. Seems like you don't want to talk. Maybe they'll be like, and it's like, okay, I can see that you don't want to talk. And that's okay. And then see if they stay there with you. In other words, if they don't just go away, if whatever. And then you could be like, what's on your mind? So you have this big agenda of what you're going to go do, but that may not be what happens or who shows up for you.
Okay.
And so you deal with it in the moment, which you guys are going to be very kind of, you know, trepidatious or kind of really insecure to do. But I want you just to go for it. So I see you don't want to talk. And sometimes they'll start talking to you. Like where if you just meet them where they're at, is another way to think about this. Like it's just like, oh, I see you're not really into this. What do you want to talk about? Or maybe notice the mood. So in other words, like let's say that they're not talking, but you're with your child and you're like, gosh, he seems sad. Reflect that back to him. It seems like you're kind of sad. What are you sad about? And maybe that isn't what you were trying to do, but you're engaging. Don't be surprised if they engage back though. Like in other words, they may start saying something to you and you might be like, I don't know what the fuck to do right now. And so all you ever do if you don't know what to say in the moment or you start feeling weird is, thank you very much for telling me that. I'm gonna think more about what you said. And I'm gonna come back and talk to you about it later. And then you can then leave that situation with your child or teen and you can think about what happened. And then you should try to go back once you think about what they said and maybe talk to them about that. You guys will get a lot more movement out of your work and your corrections if you just Remember that your job is to connect with your child and connect with your teen. Be curious about them. Because remember, you're starting a relationship with there not being much of a relationship there. You know, whenever you go through the course, whenever you went to a workshop or whatever you do, it starts that relationship, but it's something that has to be built. And that's why clients, long-term clients, they get closer and closer and closer with their kids. And they even start to integrate. The child and teen start to become almost like one kid. So that's all possible without private work and various things. It just takes time to kind of build that relationship with them. Does that make sense to everybody else? Kind of doing something on the fly and just kind of meeting them where they're at. You're not gonna fuck anything up. The only time
I have a question about that, about fucking things up.
Sure, Barry.
I have a fear that I might do correction wrong, or I might upset my kid and teen in some way, and they go AWOL and cause all kinds of havoc.
Yeah. So here's the thing. It makes sense, and it's a reasonable fear. The only rule is don't shame the kids. So that's the only way that you can like fuck it up, is if you start shaming them. Like, oh, you shouldn't feel that way. Or, oh, that's stupid. Those are shaming messages. But even what fucking them up looks like, it means that they just won't want to talk to you very much anymore. But then that itself can be undone. Like, I have to usually do it, but you could also do it. Like, if you mess it up to where they just won't talk to you anymore, which is really, really, really unlikely. I've never had anybody mess it up that bad. Then basically, you would just talk with them about, it seems like you're mad at me, or you don't want to talk to me, but I'm still here. You know, so the only way to fuck it up is if you shame them. That's all. There's no other
worst
way.
Case scenario, they won't talk to you.
And what'll happen is they'll turn around. Believe it or not, like the image, they'll move away from you, or they'll turn around and not want to talk to you. And so even if sometimes that can happen, even if you haven't fucked it up, but it's too much for them, or it's too intense. You got into something that they're not ready to talk about. And so you'd be like, okay, I see that you don't want to talk right now. I'm gonna leave you alone. Bye. I'll see you later. Don't worry. You know, you just kind of back out of it. But it's a good question. And I think clients often have this fear. And you're not going to mess it up worse unless you shame the kids. You'll drive them further into the hole, so to speak. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. It's a great question.